What result could I offer? Well, then I looked at my own journey. Hold on a minute. I am the result. Alcohol problem. Got it. Self-identity problem. Got it. Drug addiction. Yeah, and you can cope with that, but that's professional help. Most of the problems that came to me were never the symptom. They always had a symptom to something else, and it was normally an identity crisis at its core.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the show. My name is Tiffany Alexander, and this is Unveiling Journeys. I just want to tell you a smidge about me. Yeah, love people. I love people so much. I can't wait to get to know them. And I can't wait to ask them, hey, you are so cool. Can I know more people like you? But also, I tend to dig through this little Rolodex in my brain while I'm speaking with people because I can't shut off all those other little tabs going in my brain. And I'm like, there's people I need you to know. And I'm trying to not look and say that and do that while I'm speaking with people. So I'm trying to take notes as I talk to people. But long story about that is that's how I meet some of the coolest people I've ever met in my life. And that's exactly how I get to continue to keep meeting people because that's just who I am. But on top of that, I can no longer be quiet about them. They are so darn cool. They will break through all of the different social media methods and wherever they're at, and them being quiet or them being loud. And I want to be even louder for them. And that's why the show was invented. And I could not contain myself enough to tell you about today's guest, Mr. Baz Porter. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for coming. I don't even we have a lot to talk about. You've changed my life already dramatically, and there have been very real tears that I've shed because you've made such a dramatic impact in my life, and I wish I could have start all over again, put you as number 1 person on my show. Tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you're up to right now.
Well, first of all, I'm honored that I had that impact in your life, and I hope you pay it forward, which I know you do, to so many other people. Who am I? Well, I'm Baz. Hi, how are you? And thank you for joining us. A bit about what I do. I'm a guide. I don't associate with the word coach because they're to a penny. I'm the guy who put it all together after losing everything multiple times, being a complete jerk in my younger years through many different scenarios, and decided to do something better with my life. So now I guide predominantly high achieving women through adversity and creating a mess from the mess into something that actually makes sense for them. It's not my vision of who they are, it's who they want to reinvent themselves to be, despite what the world tells them. That's a bit about me. I like jogging ish, not so much these days. I'm getting too old for that. Do like hiking, like fishing. I like meeting inspiring people and having impact for our future, as in not today's world, our kids, our grandkids, because that I believe is where the change is going to be made on their battlefields, so we can make their life even a little bit easier today. We stand to make a huge impact later on.
Mm, I love this so much. I'm just going to say I cannot wait to unpack more of your story and tell more people about what it is you're up to because I have already had this thing, and what it is that it's many words. So let's call it spidey senses, magical. You're a unicorn. You have this see through the shell or see through this facade of people, of me, and even in particular, and you're able to like call people on their crap because this ability, and you know what, a God given ability to you that you are changing exactly everything that you can at the moment that you are. Like you're just like you have this knack, this ability, and I could not put enough high end women in front of you right now because I'm good at what I do. And I'm good at like putting on a show. I'm good about being me. And you're like, Tiff, you still have like 900 versions of you. Why don't you just be you? I'm like, I thought I was. I thought I was. So just being able to know and have someone see it and feel it and those little tiny nuances of what you think that you've got everything under control or call people out on that is like inappropriate way, right? Like let's no BS about this. Um, I want everyone to know about you. So, but I don't, this is Unveiling Journeys. So I want to like tell your whole story because you have an incredible story. So let's do that. I wanna start from the beginning. Where are you from? And, like, what did you even wanna be when you were growing up?
Interesting story. I actually am from London. I grew up in the south of London and I moved to Bedford as a kid. Um, what did I want to be growing up? I don't actually remember. I remember very little of my childhood. Not because it was bad, it was just because I don't need to remember it. I remember being bullied at school, and I remember not fitting in a lot. For years, I was different. What it was, to something you referenced earlier, I saw the world differently. I now know it to be what's commonly known as being a channel, where I saw what other people didn't want to see, or they would hide or try to. And I would see it in different layers of their behavior, of their tonality in their voice, but predominantly their energy. And I see energy in lights. So as a kid, I would, I was called thick, stupid. I was dyslexic. I can't read to fucking save my life. It's okay. But it's all about understanding human behavior, what I do now. But back then, we were just called stupid. Now we know it as dyslexia, or commonly known as ADHD, and I have both, or ADD, whatever you want to call it. Um, but it wasn't understood back then. And I used to see the world in dimensions. I'd go out, I'd look out the window, and instead of seeing a playing field, I would see the 1800s people playing cricket in 1800s uniforms. But I would see it like I would see reality today. And I never understood it. And I was told by my mum and dad, predominantly from my mum, to don't say anything. It's not real. And she was gifted. I know that now. She passed a couple of years, last year, I think. But I now know that to be true about her now, because later on in life she told me she was afraid for what I would see. And she was trying to protect me, which is, I've now know to be very common with a gift that people don't understand. Now, back then, I didn't understand it. And now I understand enough of it to use it for good and to help other people because it is a gift. And then I joined the forces at a very early age. I spent 9 years in there, and that was not so fun. And I went all around the world doing some really crazy stuff. I retired in 2004. Back then, there was no such thing as post traumatic stress disorder, or what is now known as complex post traumatic stress disorder, or CPTSD. There was no such thing as mental health, it didn't exist. And for a lot of the stuff that we were doing and we saw, I just decided to drink a lot and do a lot of drugs. Fantastic.
Yeah, coping, right?
Because I left the UK and went to Cyprus where I became a DJ. I ended up playing in one of the biggest clubs in the world and ended up having a residency, a compere on stage. Some of the clubs that I was playing, going in was Castle Club. I was resident host at Bedrock, which was a karaoke bar. So I was called Barney Rubble in Bedrock. So I had bleached blonde hair. I had hair back then. Yes, it was weird. I do. And I had a six pack and I was very toned, very tanned, and the women loved me. English guy, they tourism, you get the idea. But what I was actually doing for many years was nearly killing myself. I was drinking a lot, doing drugs, and I didn't know at the time it was suppressing what we now know to be as PTSD. So I fell in love, in inverted commas, in Cyprus with a tourist. And then I moved back to the UK in 2010 when my life literally fell apart. The relationship was always doomed. I went to try and stop drinking and stop that lifestyle that I'd been so accustomed to. Within 6 months, I was living on the streets. The relation, I became very narcissistic. the epitome that I now know I hate to be. It's the person I most despise. I became, and I upset a lot of people. Really upset a lot of people. I was lying. I was deceitful. All of the above in a human being that you think, oh my God, no, stay away from. I was that person. And that continued probably for nearly 9 years.
Mm.
And then I had a come to Jesus moment, a spiritual awakening, where I had a spiritual 2x4 run ahead, basically. And I finally got myself semi stable. And I started to see things again, things that I could never explain. This happened for 6 months, solid. And the universe has a distinct way of turning up the volume to get what the hell it wants. Eventually, after I thought I was going insane because I was hearing voices, I was literally hearing disembodied voices for a while, and it got worse and worse. And they kept saying, "Speak my truth." I was like, "Okay, whatever." And as I said earlier, I got myself stable to the point I had a secure job as a head gardener. I had a car, which was cool, and I had a place to stay. In 1 week, my car blew up. The engine just completely died. I couldn't get to my job, so I lost my job as head gardener. And as a result of that, I lost my house. 7 days completely. I was like, oh God. In the meantime, I'm having this spiritual awakening or reawakening. So on the day that I lost my job, the next day I'm getting kicked out. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I got on Facebook. I was on Facebook at the time. And I went, I'm a healer. I'm a medium. And I wrote an essay of a post. And the support was amazing. Oh, fine, you've come out of the closet. Da, 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 da. And I was like, you lot, can you? Seriously? And I joined a Facebook group. And I was trying to do other bits and pieces. A friend of mine took me in and helped me sort of in a spare room. She's like assisted to me now. And I grew this Facebook group from 4,000 people to 36,000 people in 6 months.
Wow.
And I was like, cool, what's this? I didn't know what coaching was. I didn't know what entrepreneurship was. I knew nothing about sales, marketing. I was literally green. And I wanted to travel. Eventually, when I spoke my truth, the noise stopped. It just, that was it. And then another journey started. So I was helping people, sometimes 18, 19 hours a day, just speaking to them.
Yeah.
And it was all for free. I was giving free consultations to anybody and everybody that I could get hold of to help, which was really stupid back then, knowing what I know now. Anyway, I had an urge to travel. So I changed from doing free consultations to donation-based. And I saved enough money for a plane ticket to New York, visa, an ESTA, a 3-month holiday visa, and $360 spending money. That's all I had. And on January the 6th in 2019, I left the UK. In the 3 months of me traveling, I did 33 states in the US, helping people. Greyhound bus was my second best friend. I met thousands, I don't even know how many of people. And a few always stick out to me. One in particular was on a Greyhound bus from Texas to El Paso. And there was a young gentleman on there that was clearly lost. Now, for those people who ever traveled on a Greyhound bus, you know how sleazy they are, you know how dingy they are, you know how uncomfortable they are, and you can meet anybody on them. This guy happened to sit next to me, and he got out some white powder, is all I'm going to say. People on here, and I'm saying it so it can be aired, not anything else. And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, I said, "Well, why are you doing it?" Bear in mind, I'd lived that life before. although I was drinking, I wasn't doing the other stuff. He said, it helps me. And I went, that helps you. And I told him briefly about my story. I said, now I'm here doing this. And he went, well, why are you doing it? I said, so I can helpfully help people like you. I said, you have a choice. You either do the thing, no judgment, or at the next stop, you can flush it down the toilet and you can call your daughter. Choice is yours. He said, I've not spoken to my daughter for 7 years. And I said, I understand that. I understand the fear behind it. But you can either do another 7 years and her not being able to grow up with a father or the potential of having a relationship with you, or you can make a choice today that may possibly change that. He broke down in tears. This is a guy like, I can't do anything solid as a rock. And he said, okay. And he was shaking. He was sweating. And I went, right, this is not going to be a picnic. This is not going to be easy, but it may be worth it. Now, to this day, I never know what happened to him. And I only hope that he did the right thing for himself, but mainly for his daughter, to give her the opportunity that he didn't have. I did through it, as I said, I ended up leaving there, going up to Paradise in Oregon. I was helping refugees coming, and I helped there for 2 weeks, came down into Northern California and into LA. A client of mine was a doctor, and I was helping for quite some time. She said, I want to meet you for a meal. I was like, cool, free meal, I'm there. And she brought a +1. That +1, we exchanged numbers. 3 days later, we had a date on Venice Beach that lasted 3 days. She drove me to the airport, LAX, where I flew to Australia. My visa had run out, and I got enough through donations to go to Australia. We had a long distance relationship. She flew me back to the US with $7, and I had a rucksack. Fast forward 3 months, on the end of September, which be 2 weeks ago from this recording, we got married on Orcas Island in Washington State. She is the reason, and she changed my entire life. She believed in me. She saw me as a different person, not as the person I once was. And because of her, she gave me an opportunity to not just heal myself, but love myself. And that was the spark of, because I didn't like myself for a very long time, let alone love myself. I didn't like myself. But she saw something in me that changed my entire life. She gave me the opportunity to do what I do today and see the best, not just in other people, but in me. Because I can't do what I do for people like you if I don't like myself. It just doesn't work like that. So that's how I got here, and that's who I once was. I'm the guy who lived the journey and chose me, not egoically, but chose me so I could serve other people, but by being authentically who I am.
Hmm. Man, that's incredible. Whenever you decide to start this version of you, like this company that you have that's now blossomed into everything it is, what did that feel like? You're like, I have to make this a thing instead of just giving all your advice away for free. Tell me a little bit about that.
So when I ended up in the US and I was doing the motions, I got taken advantage of because I know I was green, and there was a lot of lessons I had to learn through meeting a lot of people. Most of them were after a quick buck. There was only a couple that were actually genuine. And it wasn't all plain sailing. I ascended very, very quickly. So I went from $7 to seven figures in 14 months, just to put that in perspective. But I was very egoic. I didn't know enough. I was very frugal, very flaunting with my money. And I was more enamored by status and what other people were thinking of me, very egoically. And I had a hard lesson to learn, which I did fast. So I went from seven figures down to zero pretty quick. I regrouped. I found out who my friends were very quickly. And I realized in that process that what I was building wasn't for me. It was based in ego, based in greed, based in other people's problems that I couldn't really solve back then. In that process, I realized that I was part of the problem, not part of the solution. The personal development world had become a watered down marketing system preying on vulnerable people who didn't know what the hell they were doing, me being one of them. And I had to learn the hard way. I didn't want to be a part of the problem. So I had to redesign things in a way that would suit not just me, but be authentically congruent with what I wanted to bring to the world. About a year and a half ago, not even that, a friend of mine, his name is Peter Swain. He's probably one of the most intelligent marketeers that I know in the world. And his wife, Lizzie, asked me to come to a seminar over 4 days in Vero Beach. Well, I thought I had my shit together. No. And we spent 4 days going through my entire business, stripping it down. And what came out of that, I was in the wrong business. My avatar was wrong. My messaging was wrong. It was entirely a mess. And I was like, great.
Right?
And I went back home. I took everything offline, all my products, websites, everything. Closed the door. And my office, which isn't a small place, ended up like the Sherlock Holmes murder board. There were post-it notes everywhere. There was string from going place to place. And I photographed everything after 5 days. And I put it into ChatGTP. After 2 weeks of me doing this, I came back with a single person. What I now know as the ideal client avatar. Many different names for this. It is your one person that's going to pay you the most money in exchange of what you do best and a singular problem. Peter and Lizzie helped me distill this person down so well over a longer period of time. I know how she thinks, what she does, when she wakes up, her kids, her problems, her core fears, know when she shops. I know what she's typing into the search bar and a load more that I won't go into right now. But I said, what do I do to help that person? And I started to have a conversation with them, a theoretical conversation. And I went, that's not enough. How can I validate this? Now, at the time, I had about 5,000 people on LinkedIn. I wasn't very active at all on any other social media, still not. And I thought, well, let's have a look, see who's in my network, because I'd never done this before. And I went deep. And I had this idea of who my ideal person was. I reached out to over 700 of these people, women on a certain caliber with, I thought, a certain problem. And I sent them a voicemail, not an automation message. I got them on a voice 700 times. From there, 448 people responded and got on a call with me. Just 10
Wow.
minutes.
Yeah.
And they all said, "Why aren't you selling anything?" And I went, "Because I can't sell you anything. I don't have a product because I don't understand what I'm selling. As in, I don't understand your problem to solve it. This is what this meeting's about." And then a few things kept coming back. One, I figured out men hate me. They're very intimidated, which is fine. And not every single man, but men of a certain caliber, I would see through, and I wouldn't be quiet about what their challenges were. I'd be like, "Shut up! You're full of stop doing it."
Right, right.
And I won't go into the who here, but there are certain people that household names I've done this to publicly. I don't care. Nothing to lose. Um, and women, on the other hand, because I then asked my wife, because she's awesome, what do people see in me? And we realized every time I went to an event, men would be like, "Holy shit, he sees me. Oh my God, no, stay away." Women gravitated towards me. And I still don't understand it.
They're saying
I'm
the
not,
same words. "Oh, he sees me."
mm,
Not like, "Oh, he sees me."
yeah,
Same words.
but it's a response.
Yeah.
And what I figured out, because she said, when you enter a room, you have a presence, an aura that women love. Now I was like, what? Because it hasn't computed, still hasn't. She said, "You understand and you see us, like you've just said." I said, "But I'm not Mel Gibson. I do not know what women want. I barely know what my wife wants, the level I know of anybody else." She said, "You have a gift where you see other people and see the flaws without judgment, and you can guide people through it." She said something very key to me there. You guide people and you meet people where they are. You don't talk at them, you talk with them. And that landed differently. And I was like, that's interesting. What is it, the problem I actually solve then? And I started to go deeper within these questions. And I realized I solve identity problems from a fear that people have. So let's take a very common fear of self-worth. There is a form of a self-worth issue within every single human being in the world. But the translation from that comes in many different forms. My ideal client, the person I love to serve all day, hasn't got a self-worth problem about herself. It's what if her children see the truth of who she is. And when I approach people with this, not just one or two people, I went back into LinkedIn. I went, "How about this?" And they were like, "Oh my God, how did you know?"
Ooh, yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. I wasn't expecting that result or that response." And not just one or two people. I'm talking 300 people
Yeah.
said near enough the same thing.
Yeah.
The first time anybody saw me, "How did you know?" I went, "Lucky guess." But it wasn't, because what I did was take the data from everybody else. Instead of putting it into a GPT or an AI, I went, "Let's have a look at it. Let's sit with it. Let's ask these questions to my ideal avatar and see what comes back." Because it's emotional resonance. We're all tapped in and turned on at some point. But it's how we use it. And I rebuilt the business from that point. But knowing what the problem was, making sure I could actually solve the problem, not just passively or say I could do it. What result could I have? What result could I offer? Well, then I looked at my own journey. Hold on a minute. I am the result. Alcohol problem. Got it. Self-identity problem. Got it. Drug addiction. Yeah, you can cope with that, but that's professional help, you know. Most of the problems that came to me were never the symptom. They always had a symptom to something else. And it was normally an identity crisis. at its core.
Yeah.
It was an
I
interesting thing.
what I I you've said so many incredible things. I wanna ask, 'cause it's my favorite question I love to ask people because you've done all this stuff, you've invented all these things, you've really honed it in and you've homeworked it out, right? But here's the deal, you keep showing up. Like, why do you care so much to keep homeworking the heck out of this particular thing, be as best as you could possibly be, and keep creating what you've invented for everyone? Like, why do you just care so much?
Because no one cared about me. There was a long time in my life where I thought my genuine thought was, "I don't matter, and I don't want anybody else to experience the same thing as I did." Now I'm strong enough to say that now with full confidence and not be bawling my eyes out. 10 years ago, I was a complete mess. I became, as I said earlier, the person I most despised. And that mask that we all wear never gets dropped unless someone truly listens, truly shows up, not just passively, but authentically. Not, I'm here for you whenever you need me, but actually pick up the phone and say, yo, bitch, are you good?
Yeah.
Because no one does it. They say they do, or I'm here whenever you need me, just call me. But how often do you actually call somebody unless you absolutely have no other choice?
Right, right.
I had a call like that this morning.
Huh.
She had no choice. And I said to her multiple times, I'm here. Today, she picked up the phone. Today, I had an opportunity to help her change her life, and I did. I spent 4.5 hours on the call with someone this morning that needed me. But I know now that she's safe, she has focus, and she has direction. Before she called me, she was a complete mess. That's why I show up.
My goodness. Okay, at this point, people are thinking, I wanna know you. I want in. I wanna, like tell everybody what's your favorite way you want them to get a hold of you.
Two ways, quite simply. If you want to enter my world, firstly, reach out and say hello on LinkedIn. That's always a great way. Secondly, go and see Tiffany. She'll introduce you. Thirdly, you can take a self audit. That is on my LinkedIn and it says free audit. Take the audit. You've got to be serious. Don't come and say me just for a conversation. You need to know, have some direction, and you've got to be serious about change. I'm not here to waste anybody's time. I'm here to create change. So if you are serious and you want a conversation and you want direction, take the audit or send me a message and say, hi, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'd love a conversation.
There's an interesting piece about that because someone saw me and was like, "I think you need to know my friend." So if you're listening to this part of the podcast right now and you're like, "Oh, I mean, I guess I could know." No, if you're like, "Man, I need to be that person," that's me, I'm in, or I have a friend. Like that is what I want you to lean into to consider not just this conversation stopping with you, but you being a bridge to the next person that needs to know Baz. And this is incredible. All right, I get to my favorite last part of the show is like, man, I know you have so many, so limit yourself to how many you want to share with, but what's your nuggets of wisdom or advice you want to leave everyone with?
You are the miracle. For years, I was told I wasn't going to amount to anything. I couldn't do something. And it wasn't until I realized that I was the miracle. Not because I could walk on water or I could, pull rabbits out of hats. It was owning who I truly was at my core. That was my spark. And I know there's a lot of people now listening, maybe even you, listening to this going, I can't do that. You made it this far and you made it all through the bad days. 100% you won. Wouldn't you say that's a kind of miracle? So remember, you made it this far and you are the miracle and you deserve so much more.
Howdy, if that wasn't well said. I don't know what else could be. You're 100% right on that. I'm so grateful for you constantly, by the way, not just like for this time that I have on the show, but so awesome that we got to be introduced. I'm so happy to be called a friend and that you're on speed dial on my phone. And I cannot wait for more people to know you. And by the way, thank you for your time really today. Thank you everybody listening for staying and listening to Baz's story because I really want you to know him. So reach out. And then I will see you guys all on the next episode. Everybody take care and see you soon.